Oz. How are you doing? We're here at NAMM again.
Yes.
And you've got some new stuff to show us, right?
Yes, I've got a few things to show. If it's okay, I'll start with kind of new news on old modules and then move on to the new modules.
Yeah, totally.
First of these would be the ES8, which came out at the end of last year. This is my USB 2.0 mid audio interface, which I've got two of here. One's connected over USB to an iPad. The other one's connected into my Mac up here, running Reactor at the moment. The big news for that is that as of February, I'll be introducing Windows drivers. So Windows PC users will be able to use this module for the first time, which is cool and long awaited. So that's that one. Let me just remind people what this does actually, since I've got it running here with Zmors or S'mores Modular. S'mores is an iPad app by Sven Brown, which is a software modular environment. This patch is generating some audio of its own, which I'll play here. These kind of matrix sequencery things are triggering some software drum modules, which you're hearing. But this is then, the audio for that is coming out through the ES8 into the modular. But also here, some of the triggers from this grid are wired straight out to outputs on the ES3. The ES8, I beg your pardon. All of these outputs can be used for CVs or audio completely interchangeably. So this one is generating a trigger from that grid, which is running down here into the old Disting drum doctor to trigger this cymbal, which you'll hear there. And the two mix quite nicely. So just a conceptual demo there of an integrated software modular environment. And even more than that, I've got another input on the ES8, getting a drum loop here, which is coming through the ES8 into a delay effect in S'mores, which is going back out to another output on the ES8 there, which sounds like this. So that echo effect is happening in software. So this is another great use of the ES8 as a kind of audio effects unit, basically, using the iPad's algorithmic capability to process audio.
What sort of latency do you get, like it through or like round trip?
Well, it obviously depends on what you've got your buffer settings and things like that set to, but it's comparable to what you would expect from a normal DAW. So you're looking at, I don't know what the buffer sizes are set to here.
Short enough that it's not noticeable, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's set to 128 samples buffers, so you're probably looking at, what is it, about 5 milliseconds at 44.1, something like that anyway.
That's fine, yeah.
So, you know, it's perfectly usable.
So it's 8 outputs and 4 inputs, right?
8 outputs, 4 inputs, all DC coupled, but it's also got ADATs,
which you could connect to an ES3. Is that?
Yeah, ADAT in and out, which you could connect to an ES3 or an ES6 or something like a Behringer ADA 8200. If you wanted, say, like 8 mic pre's going into that thing, you can have that too. You could mix a gig with an iPad and an ES8.
Excellent.
And also about the ADAT inputs, the other feature I've just announced for the ES8 is a standalone mode. So if you're not using a USB connection, the ES8 now will feed its ADAT signals in and out of its analog outputs. So you can effectively use the ES8 as alongside something like an RME interface or that to give your DC coupled ins and outs to your other audio interface. So it's another use for the ES8 now.
So what else have we got?
The other thing I just wanted to quickly mention, updates on old modules. FH1, which I've got here connected to my Rolly Lightpad. The quick news I want to share on that one is I've released some web-based configuration tools for that FH1, which previously involved a little bit of kind of pseudo coding. There's now just a big web interface with drop-downs, and you select what you want it to do, and it makes you a file which you download from here and stick on a USB memory stick, pop into the FH1 and update it that way. And there's also a way of doing it through SysX. So the FH1 is a lot easier to configure than it ever used to be for people who want to use that. The FH1, I'll just remind you, is a USB MIDI host module. So generally speaking, you just plug in a class compliant MIDI controller like the Blocks or Fader Host or Fader Fox or a keyboard, and you get CVs out straight in your modular. It's that's not a new module, but that is a new functionality there for that one. In terms of new modules, save the best till last. I'm refreshing these 4 modules here: the ES3, 5, 6, and ES8 HDT. all been around for a while, all been re-released with the illuminated jack sockets that you find all on my other modules now. And they're all a little bit smaller, and they kind of match the ES8 for size and depth. So those are out almost immediately after the show. Just a refresh on that. But my big news is it's another refresh admittedly, but it's a much more important one, the Disting Mk4. The Disting Mk3, you may recall, looks like this. It's been out for just over a year now. The Mk4 looks like this. The LEDs on the Mk3 have been replaced by a proper dot matrix display, which there is showing the algorithm it's running, but it also scrolls text if you want to see what you're doing. So it's much easier to navigate the whole interface now than it ever used to be. So when you're scrolling through your algorithms now, you can see the algorithm name before you select it. It's got a nice little help function where it'll just like scroll an arbitrary description of the algorithm in case you've forgotten what it does. And that's just pulling the text off an SD card, so you could quite easily add your own notes to that or localize it into your own language or whatever. Speaking of SD card, the SD card on the Disting is now here on the front. Previously it was around the back.
So is the module still at 4 HP, or is it a little bit
It's
wider?
still 4 HP.
Okay, wow.
So it's really tight, but there is space for this screen and this little SD slot here in 4 HP still. So now you can get to that, you can hot swap it while the module's running, which obviously you couldn't do before. In terms of algorithms, it's basically all the same algorithms as the Mk3, and in fact, going forward, I plan to, I'll start that sentence again. Over the last year, I've added a ton of new functionality to the Mk3 just in firmware updates. Fully aim to continue doing so on the Mk4, and because they're basically compatible, wherever possible, I'll be adding them to both modules in parallel. So everybody who's got a Mk3 is going to continue to get firmware updates. That said, there are a few things the Mk4 can do that the Mk3 can't, partly because of the display. Also, I've added a proper crystal clock to the Mk4, so it can do accurate pitch things. It's got a tuner in there now. I don't know how well you can see that if I dial it in, but bang, 1D algorithm. No, that's not right. There we go. So if I take my oscillator, let's get another patch cable. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Where's that? So you see it's showing you the note name as you tune it. Hang on, let's get rid of that. That's flat, that's sharp, so there you go. I've tuned that to a B. So it's just another handy utility to have in there. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to mention, the other big feature for the Mk4 is it now supports the macro machine storage strip bus protocol. So this one, if you're not aware of it, is a module by Macro Machines which basically uses the CV bus, which is on the backplane of most modular systems. Instead of using it to send CV, it uses it as a kind of digital serial communications protocol, basically for patch save and patch recall. So with the press of a button here, you can change the mode on every module that supports that protocol that's in a row. So in this case, I'm changing, change back here. So you can see I'm changing the algorithm and parameters on 2 distings at the same time, just from there. In this case, I'm changing where's it gone? Changing that rate and the key of the quantizer. So I mean, lots of applications for that, simple things like that, stepping through a chord progression in a song, say, or if you've got various different kind of scene changes in a live set, you want to just recall things just by pressing a button. It's another little feature that the Disting now has.
So will it be the same price as the...
The price will go up a little bit. It shouldn't be too bad. The whole exchange rate thing is confusing the heck out of me at the moment. But
yeah, it's confusing me as well, don't worry.
It will go up a little bit, but it'll be in the same ballpark. It's not going to be a big change.
And does the development of the Mk4 kind of make it a bit more like future-proof?
Does it make it more
future-proof in terms of?
Well,
like,
you can't predict, can you? I mean, I thought the Mark III was future-proof because I put an SD card on it, and then of course it turned out that the SD card needed to be on the front, and I needed the screen. So, but yeah, I don't plan to change it again for quite some time now. I think I've certainly reached the limit of what I can physically fit onto the front panel of the module. Yeah, there's a good amount of space left on the flash memory for more algorithms, and I've got a list as long as your arm of new things people have suggested, for which thank you. Anybody who's watching who suggested an algorithm for the Disting Mk4, it has been noted. It may happen one day. Thank you for suggesting it.
When are you likely to have them available in shops?
Okay, so the refresh of these ones should be available, as I say, early February. They're kind of coming off the production line as we speak. The Mark IV is greenlit, but it's going to be right at the start of March, I would expect. It's not quite as close as the others. But yeah, as soon as possible, because obviously there's none to sell at the moment, and I want to get them out to people.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time, Oz.
Thank you for coming to see me.